Hey, sixth grade, we're on to the final video. Number 18 is the trickiest question that's on this entire practice page. It says, what's the same as or what's equivalent to 0.04%? What you're going to want to do is put these into your calculator as 1 divided by 4, 1 divided by 25, 1 divided by 400, and 1 divided by 2,500. So let's do that. 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. So that can't be right because we're looking for 0.04. So not A. 1 divided by 25. Oh, maybe that one equals 0.04. Like probably that one. Let's keep going anyway. 1 divided by 400. That one's got 0.25. No, not that one. And 1 divided by 2,500. This one looks really interesting, 0.0004. Okay, I think this is the meanest question on the test because it looks like it should be B. But I hope by this point you know that it can't be the letter B. Because if we box the first two decimal digits, that means that this is 4%. It's not 0.04%, it's 4%. Which brings us down to D. So it's not B, it has to be D. If we box these first two digits, do you see how it's the 00? Then the decimal point would go there. So this is 0.04%. It has to be a teeny tiny decimal because this is less than 1%. So that's why it's got those leading zeros. So the answer is D. If you circle D or when you circle D, do $2 to get extra credit. Number 19, what is the greatest common factor of 48 and 64? I'm going to make a T-chart just for 48. I know there's 1 times 48, and then in my calculator, I'm going to do 64 divided by 48. That's a decimal. That doesn't work. Then I know it's 2 times 24. So in my calculator, I'm going to do 64 divided by 24. That didn't work. I think 3 is a factor, so let's find out. 48 divided by 3 is 16. So now let's try 64 divided by 16. It's 4. Yeah. So the answer to this problem is 16 because you can use 16 to make both 48 and 64. It's tempting to just say it's going to be D, but remember, 24 is not a factor of 64. 64 divided by 24 is a decimal, so it can't be D, right? 8 and 2 are common factors, but 16 is greater. When you circle C, write 3 hashtags next to C, and you can get extra credit. All right, problem number 20 says we're using 4 drops of red and 5 drops of blue for 5 gallons of paint. So that's what I drew here. This is my paint bucket. There's 4 drops of red, there's 5 drops of blue, and that's 5 gallons. We need to figure out how many gallons of paint are being colored when 45 drops of color are used. The very first thing that I have to think about is, well, how many drops of color are in this picture? There's 4 red, there's 5 blue, so 4 plus 5 is 9. So when I draw 5 gallons of paint, I know that I need 9 total drops. So if I add another 5 gallons of paint, I have to add 9 more drops. So here we go. 9 plus 9 is 18. Cool. If I add another 5 gallons of paint, I have to add 9 more drops. That's what gets me to 27. I have to keep going in this problem until we use 45 drops. Right, so here we go. Keep on going and draw it again. Plus 9 got me to 36. And do it one more time, plus 9. That gets me to 45. So now I'm going to go back and reread the question and make sure that I answer the correct question, right? And I don't just write something that doesn't make any sense at all. It says, how many gallons of paint are being colored? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. The correct answer is 25. If you have 25, or when you have 25, you can give yourself a triangle right next to it. Are there other ways to solve this? Yeah, I love drawing a picture though because it makes a lot of sense, right? This problem that seemed really complicated, if I slow myself down and draw a picture, I can figure it out. But we could solve this with ratios, but it all depends on you understanding that it's 9 total drops. So I'm going to write 9 drops, and I'm going to compare that to 5 gallons. At the end, I know we're using 45 drops. Right? So I have to figure out, what do we multiply 9 by? So we'll just go backwards, get my calculator back here. 45 divided by 9 is 5. So we'll times 5. And if we do that on the top, we have to do that on the bottom. Hey, look, 5 times 5 is 25. 25 gallons. This way right here makes a lot of sense to me. It might not make that much sense to you. And if it doesn't, okay, you're going to do more of it in 7th grade. The picture does make sense. You can draw that picture. Number 21. Phone companies don't work this way anymore. This is an old question, and I'm excited to see when they change this one. They used to charge customers a monthly charge by figuring out how many text messages somebody sent. So if you sent a lot of text messages, you'd have a really big bill, and if you sent just a little bit of messages, you'd have a smaller bill. A phone company uses this equation to find Y, which is the monthly charge. So Y equals the monthly charge. For a customer sending, do you see where it says X text messages? So then X equals the number of texts. How many text messages are sent if the monthly charge is $77.50? So because the question is asking about text messages, then each of these things here are texts. Did they send 10 texts or 21 texts or 450 texts? That's not very many per month. Some of you hit that in a day. 506 texts. We are going to try out this equation. The Y equals 0 and 1500ths X plus 10. But now, instead of X, because we said X is the number of texts, we're just going to try each of these numbers in the place of X. So A said 10. So I'm going to erase the X and write 10. And then I'm going to put all of that in my MCA calculator. Not the Y equals 0.15 parenthesis 10 plus 10. That's 11.5. That's $11.50. Right? But we're supposed to have it equal $77.50. So it can't be A. So now let's try B. Instead of 10 in the parentheses, put 21 in the parentheses. And redo our problem. 0.15, 0 and 1500ths, parenthesis 21 plus 10. $13.15. Still clearly not right. So you can see that those numbers are pretty small. Let's try the next one, 450. It should be a way bigger number because we're not anywhere close to $77 yet. 450. 0.15, parenthesis 450, parenthesis plus 10. Hey, look at that number, 77.5. And if this is money, we'd add in a 0. This looks like it's the right answer. It's probably C, but I am going to use D, 506, and just see what happens. Like, there's no way that it can be the same answer, but let's just see what happens. 506, 0.15, parenthesis 506, parenthesis plus 10. Yeah, that's $85. So it's definitely not D. So the answer is C. That question looked really stinking hard. It's not that hard. You just got to slow down. It tells you what X means. It tells you what Y means. You just got to slow down a little bit. All right, for C, you need to draw a square out in front. All right, we're almost done. Just a couple more problems. Number 22, a scale drawing of a kite is shown. We need to find the area of the kite. We need to know how much space this plus this plus this, we're talking about the inside area, plus this is. There are a lot of different options here to figure out what to do. They're all triangles, so we could do a whole bunch of A equals 1/2 base times height. We could absolutely do that. If we look at this yellow triangle, I can see it's 6 across and it's 6 tall. So we would say A equals 1/2 times 6 times 6. And I can put that in my calculator. Right now my kitten is next to my iPad, so you might hear her in the background. 1/2, 6, 6, enter, is 18. That means the area for this one is 18. And in cool news, the triangle right below it has the same dimensions. Right? This is 6 tall, and this is 6 across. That means this triangle should have the same area. So this one should also be 18. So now let's look at the long triangles. I think they're the same as well because they share this side that's 10, and then their height is 6. The height of that one is 6, and the height of that one is 6. So here we go. Let's try it out. A equals 1/2. The base is 10. The height is 6. I'm going to put that in our calculator. 1/2, parenthesis 10, parenthesis 6. Enter, is 30. So the area of those equals 30. This one is 30, and the one below it is 30. So now we can just add those numbers together. 30 plus 18 plus 18 equals 96. So the area is 96. This method totally works, and I really like it. There's a different method that I prefer, so we'll look at that one next. I'll go back to just a hashtag there for C. The method that I prefer is to notice that you can just move these pieces around. Remember how I said that they were the exact same? It's hard because I can't flip it, but I can take this bottom triangle right there, and I can move it, I can twist it, I can rotate it, and it would make a perfect rectangle here. So then I would have a rectangle, and let me kind of color it for you so you can see it a little bit better. This one is gone now. Ignore that. So the one we're looking at is, I'm going to make it red. Here is this rectangle. It's 6 tall and it's 10 across. So the area equals 6 times 10, which is 60. So we'll do the same thing for the triangles. You could take this blue triangle and move it up here. Get rid of this math stuff over there. And if I move that blue triangle, so now it's up here, it makes something that at least looks like a square. Let's get rid of this now. Down on the bottom, ignore that 18. So now we're looking at this thing that, again, that looks like a square. Hey, it is a square. It's 6 across and it's 6 up and down. So the area of this shape is 6 times 6, which is 36. So now I can just add the 60 and the 36. 60 plus 36 still equals 96. Either way is totally cool. I think finding the area of rectangles is just a little bit easier. This one, we did this in the recent past. You should be totally good at this. A triangle equals 180 degrees. So far in this triangle, we have 93 and we have 45. When I put that together in my calculator, that's not the right one. Where did it go? There it is. When I put that in my calculator, we have 93 plus 45. That equals 138. So I need to figure out this missing one right there. So that way when I add up the 3 numbers, I get 180. So that means that this is a minus problem. Now we have 180 total minus the 138 we already have. And I'm putting it in a calculator because that matters on the MCA, equals 42. So the angle that's still here hanging out is 42 degrees, angle L. That is A. Okay, I think we're back to our last 2 problems. Yeah. This one says a building has 9 windows. Each window is 5 feet tall. We have to figure about how tall the building is. It is really tempting to just multiply 9 times 5. That's the area of the windows. That's saying this plus plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this. If you multiply the numbers, that's what you're doing. But that's not the height of the building. That's not how tall. How tall means from the ground to the roof, how tall from here to here. It says each window is 5 feet tall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace. It works really great on an iPad. It doesn't work so great if you're on paper, but you can do it on an iPad. I'm going to trace. I know that that is 5 feet. So I'm going to put it right here. Actually, I'm going to put it right here on the end here. That's 5 feet, and I'll write a 5 right next to it. Then I'm going to copy and paste. And paste. And paste. Each one of these represents 5 feet because it's the height of the window. Paste. And paste. And paste. All right, so how many 5s do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8. We have 8 repeats of 5. Pretty sure I know the answer to that. 8 times 5 is 40. Now, it's not exactly, because you can see that there's a little bit of extra hanging out right here. It doesn't perfectly match, which is why it says about how tall is the building. C is the best answer. If you have C, you can give yourself an A and circle it for the @ sign. Our last problem, you've almost made it. Tyler has a stack of cards. He picks a card, records the color, and then puts it back in the stack. He repeats this 60 times and chooses a red card 24 times. What is the experimental probability of choosing a red card from the stack? So he does this a certain number of times, and part of the times he gets red. If it's a standard playing deck, then some are red and some are black. I was going to write red, but that's kind of confusing. Plus some red. That's what's true about the cards. So if we want to find a probability, we could write this as a fraction. He picked red 24 out of, that is my cat licking the tablecloth, out of 60 times. As a fraction, we would write 24 on top of 60. And we've done this a bazillion times. So you know in a calculator that is 24 divided by 60. Here we go. 24 divided by 60 is 0 and 4/10. Taking a look over at our options. It's probably C. Doesn't look exactly the same, but there's nothing behind this 4, and the number that means nothing is 0, so you could put that in. It is C. When you have this one done, give yourself 3 exclamation points because, wow, you made it all the way to the end and have earned this extra credit. Don't forget, you need all these symbols. So if you didn't put those in, you got to go back and write them. I'm not going to give you extra credit without those symbols because I don't know that you actually watched the answer key. All right, thanks for all of your hard work.